Okay, audio should work. Cool. So, in the last commit, broadcasting of keys in prefix implemented, registration in the prefix table. So we should have everything in place, and we should start connecting the dots in order to see if this kind of works. Okay, tracking broadcasting validation messages. This is the function that will send the information to the clients waiting for certain prefixes, and we need to add it here in the before sleep callback. So basically the idea is that before going to rendering again the event loop, we send all the collected data about the keys that changed in different prefixes to the clients. Now, okay, handle writes with pending output buffers. It's a good idea that we do this before this function here, so that the writes that will accumulate in the buffers of the clients with client-side caching enabled will be processed by this function and will not lose one event loop. We can do it like the clients unblocked mode, blah 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 blah. Yeah. Yeah, looks like a good idea. Okay, we can compile and now probably we will say it immediately crashing once we try to enable the broadcasting mode, because everything we wrote so far is untested, so there are not many probabilities of it working out of the box, but step after step we can try to make it working. Now compiles perfectly. We start a server. Okay, it crashed even before we did anything. Okay, it crashed accessing a given instruction and looks at a correct address, and the address is 08. So basically this is a difference of a structure member, and the structure pointer was set to null. And we have here the Radix tree tracking broadcast invalidation messages. So it crashed in Radix 6 because in Rax 6 because the Radix tree was still null, because tracking broadcast invalidation messages doesn't do a very important check, which is if the tracking table is null, or if we have a variable with the total number of clients with tracking enabled. Okay. So we want to return immediately if there are not the conditions to continue at all. Okay. Okay, now it should no longer crash immediately. And okay, client ID is for subscribe to the invalidation messages. Here, let's enable tracking, redirect for, but this time we write BCAST, and it crashed again. But this time, where I told you initially it will crash in the moment I enable broadcasting, and it is still an access to an empty address in enable broadcast tracking when generic insert. Okay, yeah, that's the same thing again. Okay, that's strange, because this function is called from enable tracking. Right, let's observe the stack trace. So it's client command enable. Actually, this was just an optimization of the compiler that inlined this function, because in the client command we never call this directly. We call instead enable tracking, and enable tracking should populate the tracking table and prefix table. So this initialization must be performed, and then BS here is rax find prefix table. It should return not found, and it populates. Okay, here there are multiple inserts, so it's better if we understand what it is among the inserts. So that's time to start a debugger.